Great.
I used to be a smoker for about 2 hours a day.
What weather did you say?
It was 50 degrees down in Vegas.
Compared to 5, some flu.
Call the meeting to order Tuesday, January 22nd. Roll call, please.
Kane.
Here.
Delane.
Here.
Erickson.
Here.
Boone.
Here.
Schott.
Here.
Swigan. Here. Anderson.
Here. We have one item under number 10 for the agenda, a recognition for the recycling center. Are there any other changes to the agenda? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Second.
Motion made by Erickson, seconded to adopt the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Minutes were sent out for January 7th meeting.
Delane moves to approve the January 7th minutes.
Boone, second.
Motion made by Delane, seconded to approve the January 7th, 2019 minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing, one-day malt beverage license for Beresford Volunteer Fire Department for January 26th.
Just need a motion to approve if there's no discussion.
Shall make a motion one day malt beverage license for Beresford Volunteer Fire Department, January 26, 2019.
Motion made by Schott, seconded by Swagan. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Visitors to be heard, Mr. Woody Hauser. Welcome.
You got a packet in front of you, and Jerry had actually handed out some stuff too with some different site plans. We own the campground, and I was the one that had put in the offer through Bedco to purchase the excess city land on the backside back in, I don't know when that was, November. And would still like to purchase that and move on. What you got in your packet is the site plans. You see there's a couple different ideas with banner. I just went ahead and made the copies of everything. The one with the cul-de-sac. So when you see the big cul-de-sac and I don't remember how many small lots, there's that plan, and then the one on the back is, both of those were Jerry's ideas, so yell at him on any of those. Just some ideas to come up with different site plans.
Woody, just curious, what was the purchase agreement for when?
It was $20,000. We just closed, and at that time I said 30 days, but we'll have to figure out a date.
How many acres is that?
And that's about 4. There is, and then there's couple other site plans. The one where it looks like a T or a cross, that's Mitch Segrud's. He was getting me a bid for the sewer and what it's gonna cost to put in sewer curb and gutter. And so he came up with that idea, so I had Banner draw that up. And then on the back of that is another idea that I had using a one-way. Which,
Is that option 3, Woody?
oh, I don't know what she's got on there. Option 3 is Mitch's. option one is mine. Option one of mine's a little different idea because we got a one-way going through there coming around. So that's the way that works out. And then the land that we'd be purchasing from the city, on all these plans, I've got them set up for multifamily so that we have some different types of housing, not just single family. So the front part would be single family, the city land would be multi-housing, and then that's where the pictures come into play. There's some different things that we've built up in T and Beresford and Sioux Falls. So they're townhomes, they're condoized, stacked units. There's the ones that are marked condos could actually be, it's more of an apartment building size. That's what we have on South Louise. And then there's floor plans on the back and the pages. And actually, the one that's marked condos that looks like apartments, that's 4.26 acres. So it's very close to the same size as this multifamily. And that's the one, there are 88 units on that site, and that meets city code. So now that's 3 stories. We probably wouldn't do that here, but they just don't fill up as fast here enough to justify it. But it gives you an idea of what we can build for units on a 4-acre site if we needed to.
What is the city property zone now? Is that zone?
And NRC is what it's called, but it's ag right now.
So the idea on there, and you can kind of see on Jerry's one site plan at option 4. You know, he's got it planted around that multifamily, around some street or whatever. The idea is to have a mix. We need a mix in town. We got single family lots. We'll have more single family lots, but we need some multifamily. And my idea was to do 4-bedroom condoized stacked units. That's one option. All right, we build those in T and Harrisburg and Sioux Falls. They're all over. And then also build some townhomes, which is what I'm building in T right now. We're building those in Harrisburg too. And those are, so we'd have probably 4-unit buildings. We'd leave them at 4 units because the drawback to Beresford is we just don't know how fast they'll absorb. If I do an 8-unit building of those townhomes at $150,000 a piece to build, that's a lot of money for carry cost, and it just can eat your lunch, basically. So we do them in 4-unit increments more than likely. And then also hopefully do an apartment building, maybe 8 units at a time. That's still open. And the apartment buildings would be probably 1s and 2s, 1 and 2 bedrooms. The townhomes and the condos would be either 3-bedroom, 2 baths, or 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, double garages. We're gonna, experience tells me you have to have the garages. Even on the apartments, we gotta have garages. Not so from an aesthetic standpoint, so people can put their junk in there and we don't have to see it. That's the biggest thing.
Would you describe them as moderate income or low income?
These are gonna be market rate.
Market rate,
They'll be market rate, yep.
which wouldn't be described as moderate.
Oh, yeah, it would. Yeah, because that's what the market will bear. I would say that's more of a moderate. It's not a low income. None of these are low. Those 3 bedrooms, you've got to be in that $1,200 a month to make those work. Between $1,100 and $1,200, $1,300. Our ones in T are $1,295. The apartment style ones, depends how fancy we go. The ones we have granite countertops, 9-foot ceilings. They're a little on the fancier side inside. And so those are $800 for a 1-bedroom, $1,000 basically for a 2-bedroom. Here we may be a little less than that. But that's the market rate. That's where we're at for market.
I just got one question. The city owns that, 4 acres. Your property right now, what is it zoned for?
I'm not even sure.
Residential.
It's
single family
it's
residential.
single family residential.
So is there any easements or anything that go around there?
Well, if we rezone it, you'd still have to have the 10-foot easement, you know, around the outside, so. There's nothing recorded right now, cause it's a,
And on the map where it shows the future Grandview, that's lined up straight south of Grandview right now.
yes, well, I don't know if it's site-wise exactly right. Now, that's not the way Cy Smolik had that platted out. He had it in a horseshoe coming around there. There was never any through street in there. That's the way Cy's always had it set. And that future part there, I have not approached Mrs. Smolik, or nobody has that I know of on that. So I don't know if she'd agree to that or not.
Would that be on her property? Or
Yeah, Jeanette's goes all the way along that whole side, including the city line. The land to the west of the city land is slumberland, which drops off significantly, and of course they don't want to do that. One of the things that's coming out, you folks invested and a few others did in the housing study, and that housing study is pretty important. You know, lenders ask to see that, and they want to see it, so that housing study will be, which should be coming pretty quick. That'll be important for giving lender support to do the single family and to build even the multifamily. So, an important piece. And what I'm looking for is for city council to transfer it to Bedco and then continue on with the purchase agreement.
The housing study, we should have a draft of it on Friday. We can go through some of the people you talked to earlier about it. We should have that on Friday, and then if that looks okay, then we'll make some copies, and he'll probably do a presentation at one of our city council meetings. Our planning and zoning, one or two, or both.
So since I'm not too familiar with your projects in Beresford and T. Woody, so are the townhomes that you're talking around that cul-de-sac, would they come up for sale, or are those permanent, like rentals? I mean, do you sell them to a person that?
We do. A lot of times what we'll do, I haven't, my partner has. But,
Okay.
We'll just leave the tax abatement on. Once that's off, then turn around and put them on then sell them off. So these will be built with party walls. They'll have firewalls on a 2-hour firewall between each unit. So if they're condoized where you have a unit above and a unit below and you sell those, you gotta have a 2-hour firewall there. If they're the townhomes, they're 2-hour firewalls in between.
Okay.
So yeah, we do set them up that we can sell them.
I wasn't sure about this. Okay.
The condoized more apartment style, you know, the one I've got in there that we built was 3 stories. More than likely here we do 2 stories. If we go to 3 stories, then you gotta do an R13 sprinkler and a whole bunch of other stuff. And an elevator at a lot of money.
We've talked a lot about needing housing in town, and I've not seen anything come this close to reality. I mean, we've talked about it and talked about it. We talked about it at Bedford, but we haven't seen anything come this close with plans, et cetera, et cetera. So think we need to take a good look at it.
And will you, on these single family lots, are you building houses as well to be sold, or would those lots be sold?
Those would be sold for sale. I've got a few people to build some, so, yeah, I wouldn't build any specs out there.
So the only thing you'd be building is the multifamily.
The multifamily, I would probably be in on that, yeah. I think I've got enough builders lined up to do single-family houses, at least one or two to get it started. Then I think then they'll come.
And the street would be a asphalt mat street?
Yeah, yep. Curb gutter. Now, one thing that's on there, you gotta realize coming into the campground, we're only 47-foot right away there, so there is a variance there. The other idea, and I tossed it by another gentleman, but is to make it a PD and do a planned development. And then under a planned development, and Jerry can correct me if I'm wrong, but under a planned development, it's basically all private. So then it doesn't have to have those right of ways, and we can put them where we want. Still has to meet some city codes as far as, water closets on there for sewer and water, and so Jeff doesn't yell at me later and things like that. So, but that is one idea to do a PD. Now, there's advantages and disadvantages to that. We have to set up an association to manage it for snow and the upkeep and things like that. It gets a little tougher versus a dedicated street. You guys are stuck with it. So, street sewer curb gutter is basically $270 to $300 a linear foot to put in. One thing that talking to Mitch, and there is a manhole down there, but it's not deep enough, so we end up doing lift stations on all those single family lots, so each house would have a lift station. Not the most desirable thing to have. So his proposal is come all the way back to 13th Street, which is an extra 350 feet to bring back there with sewer, but we'd be at least 13 feet deep. It'd be gravity feed on everything. The manhole that's down in the middle of that driveway actually feeds north and goes into another lift station that the city has. Well, we could dump that into this gravity feed into 13th and then relieve a little bit to the lift station that the city operates now. So there is some advantages to do some of that. Also, it's more expensive.
That brings me up to another thought, Woody, with that. So my street has 0 storm sewers, and some pump drainage becomes an issue with water standing, because the curb and gutter is not perfect. I'm assuming you're not putting any storm sewer drainage on that street.
We haven't really talked about it. It's a good question.
Well, my thought was just because I don't know how far it is to that creek.
We can get to the creek.
That's what I'm saying is because I'm just looking at this and I'm thinking about what you just said, and I hate my street because it doesn't have any storm sewers, and some pumps are going to the curb, and it's like now they're icing up, ice jams, right? Intersections are a mess.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So just a thought for that.
There's 2 ways we could go to that. We could go south into Dave Stewart's, or try and go southwest and do through the city to get to the creek. If there's enough fall that we can make that all work, and there'd be a storm drain coming north. We could actually set up that storm drain come north to the edge of the property, and then when Mrs. Smollex is developed out, it'll keep going north and tie into you guys. So there is a possibility to do that. It's a long ways. There is a lot of drop. The other one would be
You gotta get to Maine. You gotta get to Maine before you get to a storm sewer.
Yep, but we would catch the water coming off of your street.
Oh, I see.
See what I'm getting at? And then the other option is we could, this is a real stretch, if Slumberland would be in agreement, there is a stormlet in in the middle of their parking lot that goes to the creek, and we just tie into that and come straight up their hill, so.
I'm just looking to the future because like I said, I wish somebody would have thought about drainage when my street was developed.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we'll take it all south, I think is probably what, but then I gotta work with Dave Stewart and others, so.
Have you approached planning and zoning or any of the neighbors?
I've approached the neighbors, yes,
You have approached the neighbors,
yeah, not P and Z.
and what is the feedback you received?
All been good. Saw Dave Stewart the other night. Actually, Dave wants to buy a little bit of the land along his side, which he needs to really bad. His back fence is really close to his house. I mean, it's pretty tight, so he needs some more. Rob Wilson's been approached. I didn't get any negative feedback there. Talked to Jeanette Smalley. She didn't really understand what I was doing, but didn't really care, so.
And they're aware that you're talking about potential for 88 multifamily units
No.
up to,
No, we won't go that high. Really, if I do that townhome design, the max would be at 44. I don't think we'll get that high. If we do this mix, because of setbacks between buildings and just do 4 units, we're gonna be under that 44 if we do 2 stories. The only way you can get to 38 or to 88, you have to go 3 stories, which I don't wanna do, and you gotta do a few other things to get credits to get to that point. So I'm just saying you could in Sioux Falls, that's what we would do.
I mean, we definitely need housing, there's no doubt about it. I guess my concern is, that the neighbors, it'd be nice to have some feel for how folks who live close to this, would feel about the project.
You only got
And then
2.
and then planning and zoning to see what their thoughts are, because the land that's the 4 acres, to me, it's publicly owned, it's not a private ownership. So, we want to make sure that we provide housing for the community, but also, give some regard to the folks that live nearest to that property, and then ensure that the inlet and the outlet to that property is sufficient for, 80, 90, 100 cars that might be coming up and down that road on a multiple times a day. So I guess I would be curious to know what the planning and zoning feels about the project.
Well, until I get the ground, there's no sense taking and doing a plan and go to planning and zoning, so.
I think you can probably get a pretty good idea if you were to tell them the proposal and then also go to Bedco with the proposal to get an idea of what their thoughts are.
What are you getting for feedback, Nathan?
I don't think many people know about it.
Oh, okay.
I think the only thing that I had seen prior to this week was, I think there was a hand-drawn map or something with a roundabout. And I think I don't think many people know that was what it was.
Sure.
I just think it'd be nice, since it's city-owned property, to get a feel for what folks are interested in along that, that are adjacent to there. If it was privately owned, I'd say go for it. But I think, again, since it's publicly owned, we need to have some awareness to what the public around that area is interested in.
So what do you want me to do? I talked to Dave Stewart, talked to Rob Wilson, I talked to Steve, I've talked to Mrs. Smollett. How far out you want to go?
Well, I think those are the only adjacent neighbors to the south, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
Mike Wetstein, I talked to him too for Slumberland.
But I'm curious, what are our options? Okay, so we don't sell it. What are our options? Or if somebody else buys it, or develops it, surely they're gonna need an exit. They're not gonna get it going west.
no.
Or
It's
something.
gotta go north. So I don't know, I appreciate going to planning and zoning, but I'm not sure what they're gonna tell you. I mean, what could they tell you? Folks, we've got a plan in front of us. We got somebody willing to take that plan and move it and work it. And we're kind of dragging our feet.
I totally agree.
I don't see
anything
that's not
wrong.
good government, folks. That's not good government.
I kind of agree with Nathan. If it's public property, I think there should be a public hearing
Well, there would
for
be.
some input,
It's gotta be rezoned. Of course, they're getting
Anything
public.
that goes
We'll go through the planning and zoning, we have to.
No,
We'll
I'm
go
just
through the
saying,
planning
we
and
need
zoning
some
process
feedback.
and it'll,
Cause I don't want
We'll go
someone to
from
come up
there.
to me and say, well, it was a fixed deal. And, we had an open hearing, we had general public give their input, and then we go from there. And I agree with him, if it was privately owned, I would have nothing at all to say about that, other than a public hearing, but, taxpayers own the lot, so I think they should do some input, a little bit anyways.
Just have to be rezoned for
Right.
multifamily housing in this case, and
Or residential, either one.
residential, yeah.
there's two different zoning things.
I'm saying it's farm.
I agree with Steve,
Exactly.
this is the first time we have seen plans in front of us. For several years, we've been talking about this, and it's a go as far as I'm concerned.
Just kind of coincidentally, had a chance to visit with a different realtor in town. And he said he can't believe the number of phone calls he's getting from people wanting to work at the turkey plant. Can you find me a place to live? So,
Well, one more addition to that, Steve, is being a repair facility, the new tire distribution center, Can-Am. The delivery truck drivers that come and drop off the tires currently that are coming out of T, they're telling me the same thing. We want to move to Beresford because they have options to be employed in the Beresford plant because they're closing the one in T. They're the first chance to come and get a job here, and they're looking for places to live. So, I think the development is great. So I'm just looking at this picture, Woody. Is this what you're talking about for the townhomes?
That's the townhomes, yep. That's the 8-plex we did in the CPUT. So
So
we're doing a 4 right to the south.
I guess my only question is how would that lay out? Would that be one long circle?
We'd
or
split
would
it
they
up.
split
So in
it
other
up?
words, south of Jerry's circle, we just do one of those. Only you can make that whatever. You can make it 2, you can make it 22. So
But it's 2 levels,
2
family
levels.
on the top, family on the bottom, is that correct?
No, that's all townhome style is.
Okay,
So
upstairs,
they have
downstairs.
2 stories.
Okay.
So to give you some numbers, such as the building he showed, that 8-plex, that's $1 million, $1.1 million. All right, so if we did 4 of those out there, that's $4 million on the tax rolls. That's $4 million on the tax rolls taxed at 92.5% of assessed rate, not 85%. And that's taxed at a mill rate of around 25 to 26, not 20. It's a huge, let alone sales tax, excise tax, and all the other stuff.
And what did you say monthly rent on one of those?
Those right now are $1,295. So what you see on there is $1,295. You do some move-in specials, you're at $1,200 to $1,295. And once they're leased up, then they pop up.
So these 2 are the kind of the options that you're talking about.
Those are the ones that I like the best. We're still gonna do an
Not so
apartment.
much this.
No, we'll still do an apartment building, but it'll be a scaled down version.
Oh,
So maybe an 8-plex of that instead of 12 or 16.
so this option 4 that Jerry kind of drew up is just, that's not to
That's not to
the
scale.
exact thought process.
It's just an idea.
Right. I was trying to figure out how this was going to go.
Yeah, no, it's not to scale. And that's one idea. If we do the PD on there, or we do it like most multifamily is, no through street, then we don't have to have all that street and stuff. We got sewer and water everywhere.
So you plan on breaking ground this spring?
Oh, I would like to try. We're gonna try, but that'll be tough. We're running out of time already. I really needed to have this done back before the first of the year, but I also wanted to wait for the housing study. It makes it easier to get money. So yes, we'll try and we've got a long ways to go. We gotta get sewer and water to that. We gotta take out some trees. I gotta move 3 buildings off of there, clean up the site. We gotta slash and burn first, so.
So just maybe to ask another question, I'm looking at option 4. These 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 lots that come in here would be single family houses. And you're gonna sell those to whoever wants to buy a lot
It's just
for house.
market. Yep, that's right.
And then you're talking these condos would be up here.
Yes.
I guess the concern I have is if we don't have that road or we don't have a road in there, it's gonna be a lot of people coming in and out of here.
So that's part of the reason I did that 88 units. That's got one access in and out. That's why I wanted to show that. The 88 unit one, the big one, that 4 acres has got one access. And that access is 24 feet wide. And it comes out on Louise. And we share the Louise driveway with Primrose Estates next door. All the assisted living and everything else. So
I guess what I'm getting at is not necessarily the traffic flow.
Yeah,
I mean, 13th Street isn't Louise. I get
that's
that.
right.
Are these neighbors aware of how many people are going to be driving in and out of here a day? Other than, hey, here's a plan. How does it look? Did you say? So where would you make it to?
How would you make it different?
Well, no, that's what I'm asking.
If we do that through street through there and that eventually comes, there's going to be a lot of traffic through there. That's why I'm not a real fan of that idea, because we'll have even more coming through there. So this way it limits it to just that site.
But I guess what I was getting at is the neighbors. They know that there's going to be this many
That's what I've
houses
showed
there.
Yep.
They're good with that.
Yep.
That makes me think of one more thing. I gotta quit asking questions.
No, that's fine.
Sidewalks.
Oh, Jerry brought that up too.
I hate Dignity Drive without a sidewalk.
He's got a plan for sidewalks.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thinking Halloween, aren't you, Gerald?
Exactly, because my street's crazy.
Now, he's also got a bike path on there on the north side of those lots too.
Bike path?
Yeah.
On the north side.
Well,
From a
I can
developer
tell you,
side.
Troy, that as a neighbor, I can't even see over it. There's too many trees and stuff. I can't even see the campground anymore.
Yeah, I know, but the people that live right on 13th Street there, on both sides, I just want to make sure that they know how many potential people are coming in and out, other than, here's the plan. I don't want them to come in 3 years going, this is a bunch of crap, because there's traffic is unreal.
The one that's gonna probably have the most traffic going by is Andrew Junkie that I sold the house to. And Andrew's in on this from before we even bought the place, he knew what I was thinking. Cause you got Rob Wilson with an empty lot.
Mhm.
And then Kyle, I've already talked to the Olsons, so,
I guess that's what I
I
was
think we're okay. I think we'll be okay. And there will be, Jerry wants a sidewalk along that right away going all the way back, so. Yes, he's pushing for that.
All right, and don't get me wrong, Woody, I'm not trying to be overly critical, I think we definitely need apartments, we definitely need townhouses, we definitely need reasonably priced single-family lots for people to build not $400,000 houses, but $200,000 houses in town. I'm just sensitive to the idea that it's city property, and if the council approves and Bedco comes to an agreement to sell you the property, it'd be nice that the people who would be most directly impacted have a good idea of what the city is doing with the land.
Right. Right.
Because once we provide the land to you, you can do with it as you choose, because it would now be your property. And if it was zoned to multifamily portions of it, or all of it, then you can do as many apartments as you want. There's no such thing as low density or high density multifamily, it's just multifamily. And the single family residential, if I'm not mistaken, is single family homes and twin homes.
Mhm. Correct. Under our zoning.
So, I'm not opposed to doing it. I don't think anyone is opposed to housing. Just trying to be sensitive to what other people might think.
There is a limit as far as our zoning with square footage on the land and everything to a unit, so we do have some of those things set up. This isn't my first rodeo, so West 77th, we have a twin home development. If you know where I'm at, I'm on Prairie Hills development, right south of the new Avera Sports Center and the new piece of ground there right off of Louise. We bought, what did we buy? I bought 8 lots there. They were single family. And in Sioux Falls, we changed them to twin homes. And to do that, you have to go through the same process we do here through planning and zoning. I did exactly what you said, Nathan, and you're exactly right. I went to every neighbor, everybody on that backside. Their biggest concern is, what are you gonna build there? We're okay with twin homes, but what's the level? Are they gonna be $150,000 pieces of junk that we're gonna get individuals? Or are they gonna be like our house, 300 to 350,000? Big concern and legitimate. We went around to everybody. We went through all the planning and zoning. We filled the planning and zoning, went through everything. And now after we've built them and sold them and neighbors have all come, not one complaint, very happy, really like our project, and it worked out really well. We had all sorts of concerns of, are you taking out the trees, or what's our view? You're gonna mess me up, I'm gonna end up with more snow in the backyard, all sorts of things, so my point is, that's why I went to the neighbors already.
Let me ask you another question. So, say you get that piece of property that we have for sale, or could potentially sell. If you had your druthers, would you attach to Grandview?
I don't think you wanna have that on there. I really don't. I think Cy's original idea wasn't a bad idea. Does it mean you could? Yeah, you could. You know, at a later date, add on there and plan for it, but I don't think I would. I think I'd leave it all multifamily. We come in and set out we're gonna have 3 different kinds of product out there, may end up with 4. So they're gonna be a mix. And I don't wanna.
So the traffic would be just out to 13th.
Yeah. Now, if you guys think that's a bad idea and don't want to, we can plan on it. We're still gonna have the traffic off of 13th because we're not gonna be in Mrs. Smolleck's land for unknown.
So if you did that, Woody, would you try to widen, because where it gets narrower, what is it, 47 foot wide?
47 feet.
There's no option, because you got 60 foot for.
Yeah, Jerry drew that out to change it to 60 to meet the present right of ways.
So how wide would that road be? The 47-foot right of way with the road, sidewalk, curb and gutter?
You'd be at 36 foot.
Yeah.
That'd be ideal, to go 36.
Well, it'd be
Sidewalk on one
32
side.
plus 4 foot of sidewalk would be 36.
32 is the minimum.
Yep. So 36 would be your, with the sidewalk, absolute minimum. Out of that 47, I was kind of hoping to shift it down towards Kyle because of the draw in there. That's where we wanted to bring in the sewer and the water and do all that kind of stuff versus right down the center.
Well, the street guys here, what would you think of a 32-foot street?
Well, that would work.
There's not gonna be, there won't be any parking on either side of those streets going in.
No,
So
we
it's
can't
275
have any
foot.
parking. Even if we were the full.
Yeah, you mean blade. How big is that?
Not quite that.
You're gonna take that monster thing down there.
We don't-
What is a normal city street?
40.
I mean, I know they're not normal in this town, there's a lot of different sizes, but.
32 is the minimum?
32 is minimum, yeah.
Oh,
Sunset Drive and Grandview, those are all 40-foot streets, curb to curb.
Nobody likes my 20-foot one-way thing. I think that is awesome. Nobody likes that. I think it's a good idea. Well, other than the snow guys. I don't know if they like it, but
Well, the only thing where it narrows up, you're not gonna have people parking on the street there.
no.
So you just gotta make sure you've got enough street parking in front of those single dwelling lots. If you're
One of the things
Where would
on
it
those,
narrow, Gerald? I'm not following you.
Well,
Right
it's
at the
got, it's
entrance.
right here between Rob Wilson and Kyle Olson's, or, yeah,
that's only 47 foot right away.
it's drawn in there of like 47.
47-foot right of way, that'd be a 32-foot street.
Correct.
I was just trying to figure out how he was gonna lay the street out.
I got one more question. How many fire hydrants are we gonna have with that many people, that many houses?
Oh, shoot, I didn't bring that map.
No,
Mitch
I
had
didn't.
that.
We're gonna
They
put
basically gotta be 300 feet away. So from
Fire
the fire hydrants do, so 300 feet back from the very last piece of the multifamily coming this way, and then they're 300 feet apart from there.
Oh, 300 feet apart, so you maybe 4 or 5.
Maybe
6,
Targe
7.
knows better than I do.
Well, you could go 600, as
Could
long
you?
as it's 300 from each.
Oh,
But
I
it
see.
depends on who, banner, whoever draws it up.
Yeah.
And then
we
what
have-
you have there, if it's an apartment or
We're gonna
whatever.
have some like at the beginning of the project and then towards the end, so that we're not hampered by running a hose 400, 500 feet.
But that's all laid out in zone.
Yeah,
Right,
we'll,
right.
we'll have to, that'll be on the site plan.
Right.
He is right, it is 600, yeah, I was thinking 300. but-
600 between height.
Yeah. I know there's one, Mitch had it set that one hydrant, you just get a little ways into the multifamily and that would take care of that whole thing. I thought that maybe was a little extreme, we need one on the backside. So.
And then, okay, what's your projection on start to finish on the road? I mean, you're gonna take care of the road until we're done, and then if the city assumes the road, then the city takes responsibility for snow removal and everything else.
I haven't gotten that far.
Oh, I just wondering.
So, I mean, those are some things that gotta figure out.
All right, okay, all right, I understand.
I haven't quite figured out where I'm coming, you know, from 13th Street to the multifamily is 923 foot. I got that memorized. You take that times 300 foot. We got $250,000 to $300,000 I gotta figure out where to come from to put in there and how to carry it. And with interest rates popping up on commercial, getting closer to 6%, it's gonna add up. And like all of you know, we've all been around the horn. I don't know how many of you have been in my office. We've gone around the horn of where can we go to find land? Where can we do this? How do we do a street? How do we do any of that? We still have that issue.
One other one, I mean about you, garbage.
Oh,
If we have that many people, I mean, I'm just using hypothetically, once it's all totally completed, we're gonna have plenty of space on the street for the cans, because that's kind of the way it wants it picked up. Like,
The way Jerry's got those lots rode out, they're basically 200 feet deep.
oh, okay, so.
I think we'll have enough off-street parking and we'll have enough place for garbage cans. So.
Yeah, because if they park on the street and they put the can, it'd be pretty tough to get the can.
Yeah, I know, those are really deep lots.
Okay, all right.
And then we'll have dumpsters.
you know, I think we're getting a little too nitpicky on this whole
Well,
thing.
I'm not nitpicky, I'm just asking questions.
Too many questions, on something that needs to go through planning and zoning and Vetco before it even started.
Now we gotta get some answers.
And we have just spent 40 minutes
I know, I appreciate your
talking
time.
about something that's out of our purview right now.
No, I think the fire hydrants are important.
Well, yeah, they're important, but that's something that'll be taken care of by coding and planning and everything. But we've been talking this depth for 40 minutes.
Well, we're supposed to
Yeah.
ask questions for the general public town, maybe we represent them. All right, thank you.
And, I think we have all the information we need right now, because this has gotta go through planning and zoning and a public hearing, and he's gotta talk to Bedco, and he owns the property, the private property, and he can do with that whatever's within code. So, I wanna thank you, Woody. It's a great plan, we need housing and everything, but I don't think we need to talk about this for another half hour. Let it go through planning and zoning first, and let us know how you make out with Bedco.
Keep us updated.
We can't act on it because it's a discussion item.
I mean, if you're gonna do something with land, you're gonna have to do it to that, so they can work with Woody.
Right, but I mean, because it's a discussion item.
So we'd have to add it to the next meeting.
Yeah.
So does anyone have any other questions specific to what Woody has brought to us?
Would we need to rezone it before selling it, or do we sell it as is and have Woody rezone?
That's up to Woody.
I'll make the purchase agreement, I'll redo it and make it contingent that it gets rezoned, and then we'll go through zoning and that'll answer.
You're talking 6 to 8 weeks probably on that. Start to
Well,
finish.
that's gonna really suck. We're running out of time, folks. I really needed this done back in November. That's the biggest thing.
Any other questions?
That shouldn't
how's
keep, that
Bedco?
shouldn't keep you from doing work on your.
No, I'll still do site stuff, yeah. But how's Bedco gonna be able to, if I was a Bedco member, how could I do anything when I don't have the land?
That's what I said, that they need to come and put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
Which, okay.
That's what I said.
Yeah, Phil's not back till February 2nd. So,
We'll be meeting for the next council meeting.
okay. I got you.
No other questions? Thanks. Appreciate you
You
bringing
betcha.
the information. Next visitor, Mr. Tars Molinex.
Thank you.
Thanks for waiting.
I got our 2018 incident report. I believe Gary sent all of this. I'm just gonna hit the highlights and get out of here. Basically, we answered 93 calls, and that's pretty ballpark for the last few years, anywhere from 70 to 100 and so forth. The type of calls and that there again, it's pretty average compared to the last few years and so forth. We're seeing more in our logging, we call them rescue calls rather than EMS calls, because all of our calls get logged in the national database. Since we're a fire department, an EMS call is considered a rescue call. So when you see 22 fire or rescue and EMS, that's where we're actually both called, because lift assist, or maybe we had to take somebody out of a building or something like that there. And then there's rescue extrication. That's where we physically had to open a car up or a door in the house or something like that there. Getting down to that there, half of our calls are EMS related. And of that half of them are people that are trapped in a vehicle or unconscious or whatever. We have to get them out to a safe environment and so forth. So the fire calls, when you actually look at 6 structure fires, you think, boy, that isn't many. But that's normal for Beresford. And this also includes the rural. So one thing about that there, that's good fire prevention. Because people are being much safer where they're burning and so forth. And that there. The structures, of course, we've gotten rid of a lot of the older structures. People aren't living in them anymore. They were, they had the old tubing out, wiring, some of them and that there. So those there are kind of going away. And what we're seeing now probably as far as structures are probably the 20 to 30-year-old homes now that were built still with just half-inch sheetrock, Romex, stuff like that there. And what happens, these people add on, and they do like I do with my own wiring and stuff like that there. And so that structure fire thing is going to stay pretty common and so forth. And I know some of you are thinking, well, why do we need a big ladder truck and that there? We don't for residential, but we do for commercial. Just like the tire company and this and that. We need it for reach, not so much for putting out fires, but one other thing in our FEMA grant is more so on the rural, but the hoop sheds, they're round and they're fabric. And you can't, it's unsafe to go up there, especially if you got a fire inside, because while you're climbing on the fabric, it's going to burn out behind you. You're going to end up in the fire. So that's the importance here again of having a aerial device and so forth. And I went out and drove about 100 miles one day around, and I counted 47 hoop sheds. Some of them big, some of them small. The only one that we got in town, I think, Gary, is the highway department has one. But there again, that's going to be a new deal when it comes to structure fires, is that you got a total loss on those. So that could affect future costs and so forth. The estimated dollar loss of property was $250,500, with about $2 million involved. There again, that's pretty average number. you like it to be down 20% or so, and I think that's where this actually falls in lower than that there. The firefighters, we don't log every hour, but we take our dispatch and we log the time through dispatch and that there. So when we go out on a call, they have a log that tells us how long we're out, how long it took to respond, how long we're on the scene, and back and so forth. So using that there, we put in roughly 2,450 man hours. Some of this involves training, and you take the national volunteer funding, comes into $140,000 if we're being paid to do that many hours work and so forth. So by being a volunteer organization, that cost does not come into play in the operations of the fire department. We had a roster of 40 personnel. We're pretty stable with that there. We lose one or two people now and then. We gain a few and this and that. One thing that we're seeing, like the ambulance service and other volunteer organizations, is that the people we're getting today aren't staying on as long as when Tom was on and Jerry was on and myself, of course, and I'm a bad example. But the thing is that we have to realize that we get a person, we're only going to get them for 5-6 years, but we still have to invest $3,000-4,000 in their gear and that there. And the next guy that comes in is going to be bigger, shorter, or missing one arm or something. But so those are other costs that come in, and it changes the way we look at getting membership and so forth. That we're going to need more new members, and but we're going to have them for less amount of time. So we're working on not only us, but the whole state, the whole nation's in that same pickle. So anyway, that's one of the challenges we got that doesn't cost us a lot of money or anything. We also toughened up the qualifications in that there. We had a bad experience with a person, and we don't want that to happen again. And so we're going to be a little bit more conscious of an application and that there, and so forth. One of the things that we changed in 2018 is the rural pumper, and we replaced that truck. We did it a couple years ahead of time because we had an offer on the old truck of $100,000. So if we would have waited 2-3 years, that truck would have been worth $35,000 to $40,000. So as long as we had some money, and we ended up borrowing $75,000 to that truck was what, $340,000, I think, and then $100,000 plus we had about $90,000 or something. Anyway, it made sense to upgrade it a couple years ahead of time. With the new truck, and one of the things we added is a transformer, we like to call it. It's an automatic deluge nozzle that's remote controlled. It only takes one person to run it, puts out 1,000 gallons a minute. The same nozzle that was on the old truck, that was manual, took 4 people to operate. So that's one of the improvements we put on there. Now this truck is at all the rural fires. It's a rural truck. But by changing things like that, we can get by with 5 or 6 people on the call where we needed 10 before, and so forth. And we did the same thing with our rural tankers. Years ago, we put 2 deck guns on, so we only needed 2 people, the truck driver and the person on the back, where before we had to walk alongside the truck with a hose about 4 or 5 feet. Tom probably remembers that. And try not to step in a badger hole or something like that, but you if you had to change sides, you either have to go back or get another person. So all these things are positive and so forth, but they cost money, you know. So the thing is that we're well aware of the membership. We're not gonna get the people that calls that we've gotten 10, 15 years ago. We had a lot of people working in town at that time. We had some city employees on and that there. Now, we probably have maybe 5 or 6 people in town. And, so we have we haven't went to an automatic mutual aid, but we have Vibrant and Centerville. That's our key people. And we know if we got something major, they're called automatically. And they're 10 minutes away, or 15 at the most. So, you know, as far as having the protection, manpower and that, they're okay, you know. It's just, we gotta adjust to the way the future's gonna be and so forth. Personal protective gear and that there, years ago, we got a wonderful grant for $98,000. We bought all new bunker gear, the air packs. We went through that a couple years ago by changing them out. But the thing is that when you buy everything new, it all wears out at the same time. So now we're trying to upgrade all the bunker gear. We're probably at about 50% after 3 years. And, you know, it's $5,000 a crack. So it takes time in that there. The bad thing about it is that some of the old stuff is still good, but it's time. NFPA says after it's 7 years old, you gotta have a replacement. And if it's 10 years old, if somebody gets hurt in it, then you're liable and so forth. Even though, you know, it looks perfectly good and probably test out again. So some of our future money is already going into that, still trying to catch up on that replacement. All the bunker gear and that there. The other thing we got is a city truck and the FEMA grant. We wrote that up in that there. With the government shutdown, that's stale, that's not moving. Nobody's is moving. So it's usually they look at that in February and the first part of March. They haven't looked at it at all. And we're coming up on February next week. So that's going to be delayed somewhat. We're still in there. The company we hired to help us write it and that there, they've been in contact. We updated the fire report and Jerry's got the financials. That goes into another government program, but they reference that there. So it's one thing about this company that we hired. We don't have to pay them unless we get the truck, which is a good thing. But they check with me, and if they don't get hold of me, they call Jerry, so that we stay on top and in the running. So right now, as we speak, they got everything that they need to proceed with the grant and that there. We looked at a demo truck here about a month ago. This is a 80-foot aerial, brand new, pretty much like we got spec'd and that there. And looked nice, lights flash and this and that. I think it's, there's other companies that build a little bit better truck for the same money. But that truck was about $720,000. So, you know, if you remember last year, Rosenbauer had those demos, and we could have picked one of them up probably around $600,000. They were a unit that they took to shows and stuff. They had some miles on them, but no pump. So anyway, if we get the grant, we got to come up with 10%. So that's you know, on a $700,000 truck, $70,000, which is a no-brainer, of course, in that there. But I also have, two people just looking at used stuff. If there's something out there that comes up maybe 7, 8 years old or whatever, and something that might fit our needs, you know, we'll keep it interesting. We're not gonna turn down the FEMA grant. Once, we've applied for that there, let's say, I'm guessing by April, we'll know if we're in the running or not. Otherwise, I don't wanna pass up the chance of a used truck that's, under 10 years old, so we've got some life in it. But here again, probably cut that 700,000 down to 4 or something like that. Otherwise, nobody got hurt, and all the equipment's working. And if you got any questions, I sure try to answer.
I went to a couple of emergency meetings, I believe with you and Larry Christensen, remember in Elk Point,
Mhm.
about the radios and the equipment. Is all that now up to where it's supposed to be for the feds?
No, the radios got delayed. I think the deadline now is 2023. Larry would know for sure, and I think he's on that committee. But all of our radios have got to be replaced.
No, I appreciate all your time and energy working for the city, just keep us updated on the equipment side that we're compliant.
Yeah, the NFPA rules and that we have to abide. We don't have any choice.
Right.
Because the last thing we need is somebody to sue us for a few $1 million because somebody put on a bunker coat that was 20 years old, or, something like that there. The radio deal is an upgrade, and by them opening a lot of these frequencies for the cellular phones and digital stuff and that there, they call it narrow banding. If you're familiar, Todd Hampson could tell you all about it. But what that does is we're in a narrow band now, so that our margins have got to be very, very close. And the radios we got won't produce that in the future when there's more traffic in our band. That's probably the best I can explain it. So what's going to happen is that our truck radios, and same way with the police, ambulance, everybody's going to have to go to a new built narrowband radio, probably at about a cost $3,500 per radio. The portables are higher; they're about $4,000. And like we got, I think we got with the portables 28 radios. So times $4,000 or $3,000, it's a good chunk of change. And in that there. And there again, it's not something you're going to have to just flip a switch and say, here. You're going to know when you have to do it. Hopefully we got a couple of years to build on that and replace them. One of the other thing, when Mr. Janklow was governor and he wanted a statewide radio network, he picked up the tab for everybody's radio. So this is our 4th go-round on changing all of our radios. And so far, the government of South Dakota has picked up the cost up to this point. Now, if this governor is in when the deadline gets done, maybe they'll do the same thing. But last time, and I don't know if you remember, Jerry, I think we're about $40,000 at the state. There's a contract with Motorola, and so they picked up the tab. And hopefully that happens again when we're forced to change again. One other thing, just for your information, I'll get out of here. The dispatch center in Elk Point it works out well for us, but they got problems. And nothing serious, but they have a huge turnover in operators. And when you sit down in that chair and you start answering 911 calls, the longer you're there, the more experience you've got, the more valuable you are, because they know how our departments work and North Sioux City and Elk Point and Alcester and so forth. But when you're new, it can be a fiasco sometimes because the person gets mixed up and this and that. Lincoln County is more organized, but they're getting huge. I don't know how many people work in that center, well over 20 in that there, but they got, you know, the south side of Sioux Falls. Clay County, we never hear anything out of. I don't even know if they have radios. We got them in our system and that there. But if you hear, you know, I know that some people, firemen, ambulance people and that there, they're always cussing dispatch. Well, they got the address, they got this, they got that. Well, they haven't been in the system long enough. When we had our own dispatch here, everybody knew everybody. You know, our dispatchers were from town. And when somebody called in and said this was such and such, they knew exactly where they lived and so forth. Now, when the call comes in to Elk Point or Canton, it's coded and it comes up on their screen with their rural address and no name. I mean, all they can do is hit a button, transfer it to us. We went into a system called I Am Responding, which works off your cell phone. This is a backup about 2 years ago now. And just with that, as long as they can send us the rural number or the town address, we can do it off our phone. We can map it, we can track people and that there. Now, it's not perfected to where we can just say, well, we don't need dispatch anymore. But someday it could be. So there is a chance that in the future, we may go back to an advantage of dispatching ourselves over the phone through I Am Responding. They would still be the 911 center, you know. But what they do now, we get 2 texts. One goes to the text that they provide, the other one goes to I Am Responding. So once we get text message from I Am Responding, then we handle it. I can tap a button and see how many people are responding and how many people aren't responding or aren't going to be responding and so forth. So those are all things that are coming up. With Sarah, the gal that is running the stuff in Union County, I've met with her a few times. I know the ambulance services met with her, and Larry's talked to them about, you know, just little issues here and there. She's trying to do a good job, but the thing is, and as far as I understand it, the commissioners don't pay these people. They get them trained, and they go to Vermillion, they go to Sioux City, they go to Canton, to Lincoln County. So it's a training ground, and they start over a couple dollars. You know, they lost some good people. All they had to do is give them a couple dollars an hour more. And those people now would be excellent people. But if I've talked to Lincoln County up there, we were dispatched through Lincoln County for many years. They're our backup. They got all their equipment. If Elk Point goes down, they can dispatch the encoders and all that there. They're not charging us a dime for that backup. And they also said, if you have problems with Elk Point, we'll dispatch it. Make arrangements so the 911, they get the 911 calls from Lincoln County and transfer them down there. So the thing is just, if you hear anything about dispatch and this and that, we're on top of it as far as understanding what the problems are, but we also got a backup. So if things do go to hell, all I gotta do is pick up the phone, call Chad up in Lincoln County and say, we gotta have you dispatches. And he'll make a call and the Union County 911 will come into Canton and, you know, then they gotta straighten out whatever's wrong. It's working, you know, but there is problems there.
Like our police department, we have computers in there now. Does the fire trucks or your squad car or the fire truck have a computer when the call comes in so you can look and map it out?
No, that's one thing that Elk Point has been working on for a long time, and I don't think, it's close to reality or.
What do you think? You think it would help you quite a bit if you get a call and you said it, you got a pretty big site?
If the information's correct that comes in.
Right.
Right now, we have GPS in all the trucks, they're voice activated, so you don't have to push buttons and that there. And if nothing else, you got your phone, you got IM responding, and you can bring up a map. I can bring up a map if Jerry's coming to a fire, and it'll tell me where Jerry is. If he's leaving Burt's or he's leaving Sioux Falls or wherever. So I know how long it's gonna take him to respond, then I can go to the next person and the next and so forth.
It may be cheaper to just install some cell phone holders and some chargers
Right,
than it would be to buy.
because see, this is where, on the fire ground, if the fireman's got his cell phone in his pocket and he answered, I am responding, it's tracking them. I can see where they're at on the fire ground. Now, this is very small, you know, but like you said, with the terminals in the trucks and that there,
I mean, like a main one, you're the boss, so I mean, if you had a computer, hit the button, 6 people are on the call, you can multi-screen it to 3 or 4 screens, and you can tell with red dots. I think I'll point at the
the
red dots.
thing is that I don't have time to do that
Oh,
because,
okay.
you know, I mean, it's just like I am responding. Mine is set automatically
Right, so you
So-
phone.
to say I'm going to the scene. But if I answer and I'm in Sioux Falls, it's still gonna say I'm going to the scene because I don't wanna be sitting trying to use my phone. I'm en route, you know, driving a little bit over the speed limit to get to a call and so forth. After things settle down and you got, you know, you got things under control, then I got all the time in the world. But that's one thing, in metropolitan areas and so forth, it's excellent because the driver and the captain that's driving can actually get the best route and all this here and so forth. But here, we don't know who's gonna be in that second seat. Could be a new person, could be somebody been on the department 20 years. You get a call, you might have 4 new people show up in the first truck. So, you know, but it's coming, it's just like the GPS. I mean, we can go in there and what's nice is, if we keep them updated, we try to do that. If there's road construction or like the bridges that were out the last few years, that comes up and if we got a call on the other side, it'll route you, you know, around that there. But, you know, other than that, we're surviving. Any other questions? No.
Appreciate your time, doing a great job. Keep us.
Well, there's 39 other people that are, doing the same thing.
Thanks, Charles. Appreciate it.
Department head reports, I guess we'll move Larry Christensen to the next meeting.
He just wanted to, he's not feeling the best, but I think just so we have it on record, you guys got a copy of his report there. If you guys have questions, I can bring it to the next meeting, otherwise you can just read through that. Obviously, we just responded to over 1,700 calls last year through the department, and you can kind of go through it. We'll just keep a copy of this on file at City Hall.
I think you should come to the next meeting. Any questions? No requests. Thanks for waiting.
You have 5 minutes.
I got 5 minutes.
Start the clock.
First thing I had on the agenda there was, the cost for, burying power lines. On our transmission route coming from the Wappa substation, we'll come out and go north up to the center of Hudson Road, and then we'll go over to Old 77 and come straight south. Well, by the time we jog back and forth around trees and all that, Southeastern Electric has some power lines that will be in the way of our transmission poles. They have existing overhead lines there. So they have worked up a cost estimate to bury them, and they would actually, move them back behind the fence, about 4 feet out in the field, and bury the power lines through there. Actually, he gave me some work orders that he had wrote up for cost estimates and stuff. The total project that they had estimated, I believe, was $175,000 for them to bury everything that's kind of in our way, I should say. They will charge us, he's got it on 3 different work orders here, but we would have a total of $66,000 would be our cost of the $66,670.58, and their cost would be $171,637. And so what they need to do, and that's something they want to plan on doing the work this summer, so we wouldn't be billed this till the job was done. And, that's the burying everything, setting the pad mount transformers and removing the old lines and all that stuff that they will do. But he said in order for them to move forward with this, they just need a letter from the mayor or city administrator or somebody saying, giving them permission to move forward, I guess. The other option we have is we could have them put it back on our, underbuilt it on our new transmission poles, but it's kind of tricky because they'll have to keep their stuff energized while you're taking it down, or we're going in the same place, so it's a lot easier if they can just bury it, and that's what they prefer, So and actually out of that whole thing, they're charging us for 3,800 feet of burying junctions, and it's about 2.5 miles that they're actually doing. So we're going to pay for minimal amount of it. I think is pretty fair with the cost estimate they come up with. I was expecting more than that.
So they're burying part of our line along with this, or just burying their line?
Just burying their lines. Their poles and wires that'll be in the way for our transmission line.
So then we would then come back and put poles up.
Yes. So that's where I'm kind of having issues with easements and stuff too, because you talk to these farmers and they're like, "Oh, we're getting rid of the poles." Well, the only reason you're getting rid of the poles is because we're going to put something else back there. So, but we've kind of running into a few hiccups with our easements too. But so some of the stuff we might end up moving it on the public side of the fence rather than the private side.
So we need a motion on this?
We're just gonna let, we need a motion to authorize, I suppose, the mayor for payment up to $66,670.
Yeah.
Towards the burying of lines.
Yep. He said an email to him was fine, or if you want to do a written letter, signed off is fine too. So.
Okay. Should I make a motion for Jay Norquist, Electrical Department, City of Beresford, for cost to bury southeastern electric power lines for a new substation / transmission project for the cost of $66,670.58. Is that correct?
Yep.
And have the mayor, Nathan, sign a letter, a draft, notifying that they can continue on the project.
Erickson second.
Motion made by Sean and seconded to approve the writing of a letter to Southeastern Electric Power Line for substation transmission burial, $66,670.58. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
One other little note for that is, when they bid it, if the price is more than that, we won't be charged anymore. But if it's a little less than what they projected, they will lower that price. Just one other thing Jerry had on there was the municipal electric utility benefits. I guess right now we're having the rural electrics have brought in a bill out here to close all annexations, so the city wouldn't be able to annex any more property from the rural electrics and stuff. So that's beginning to be a battle, I guess, on here, so, I guess they, you know, if they need some municipals or something to testify or something like that, we may be called upon, you know, we've done some annexations in the past, it's been quite a few years ago, but, we have done it, and so hopefully they can work through this, and it seems to come up this bill about every 10 years, so.
We think the process that they agreed to 10 years ago works fine. They're compensated very well for any of the land that we do annex, which would be in their service territory. It works fine, but they don't want to even do that anymore. They just say basically this is our service territory. We want to serve our service territory, even though the city continues to grow outside of the boundaries. There's no reason that the city should serve that. And we look at it when they come into Beresford, it's a one-stop shop. You sign up your electricity, your telephone, whatever else you need, water, sewer. We spend all the money on the roads, the water, the sewer lines, and all the stuff that you don't make a whole lot of money on. You know, we can make a little bit off the electricity, so we think they're just trying to grab more and more and more, and it's not going to stop. So we'd like to have you adopt this resolution so that we can get that on to our senators, and then I got a letter here from Mr. Boland. It did go into the Senate. It was introduced today, Jay. I don't know if you got that or not, but it was introduced today. So we just want to do anything we can to kind of slow the process down, or at least just keep it the way it was. There's nothing wrong with that process in our minds. What's happened is Vermillion and Watertown have went out and did some bare ground annexation is what it is. So that's kind of got these people upset. So that's good. Those are the rural electrics that are kind of circulating this bill. They went out and got some ground so they wouldn't have to pay them anything. If nothing developed there for, then after 10 years, I think, or 11 years, there was no payment to them at all. So that's what they're trying to get around. So, hey, it's ours, you can't take it. And we think it's, well, we'll leave a motion to adopt the resolution. Yes.
Shot make a motion for resolution 2019-01 statement of municipal electric utility benefits as Jerry Simon stated.
Wait a second.
Motion made by Sean and seconded to approve resolution 2019-01. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
One other quick thing, the road that we talked about, that would be built into or the new substation site. When I told you the cost at $120,000, that was for a 32-foot wide street. If that street is never going to go through for a while, we would like to kind of narrow that up. We can save quite a bit of money by narrowing that up. I don't know that it's other than benefiting traffic in and out of the ball fields. The road by our liking isn't really meant for heavy traffic. It's just a chip sealed road. You know, I don't know if it's that beneficial to the city to spend the extra money to have that wider street in there. I guess it's, you know, I talked to Pat and he said if we narrow that from 32 foot to put maybe like a 20-foot street in there, you might be looking at $60,000 to $70,000 versus $120,000.
And this is basically a construction road and a access road.
To the substation is all, you know, if we put the road in there, the other property owners, you know, technically should donate their share of the land for the road, you know. If we do it all on the city side, you know, them other landowners are benefiting from it, you know, making their property more valuable. But so I guess as far as I'm concerned, if we can just do a 20-foot wide street or something and reduce the cost of that road, that's fine with us. But
This is the one you were gonna make gravel anyway, right?
It's gonna be gravel.
rock base with the gravel on it. But I know there was some interest from.
Well, there may be future development out there, I mean, if it needs to be widened, we can always, because it's just a gravel base.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
And that, you know, at that time, then you would have to put your sewer and stuff in there anyhow, so if that's all right, I would just have Pat look at making it narrower and we'll get to that.
Any objections?
Personally, I think if we gotta think ahead of ourselves here a little bit too, but if 20 foot's what you want,
No, I just.
somewhere down the line, it's gonna cost us money again.
I just look at some of these other projects, that's probably gonna go on this summer, and for the city to spend another $120,000 or whatever to develop that road all the way through there, there's probably more streets that would be benefit with that money than that there. Would you agree with that, Joe?
Oh. Alright.
Other than that, that's it. Thank you.
Thanks. Safety committee?
So, safety benefits, which is our workers' compensation fund, was in the office in October to do a survey with the departments. And we recently got a letter back with some recommendations on things. They actually sent us 4 recommendations. We've completed 3 of them already. The 4th one that I'm working on is reestablishing a safety committee. And I'm just mainly updating you guys and getting your support of reestablishing a safety committee. I'm working with Bruce Westergaard, who is the Minnesota Municipal Utilities Association Safety Coordinator. And he is going to get me a couple examples of some bylaws. And I've also gotten a few people that have stepped up from each department and said that they're willing to take on as the safety officer for each department. And we will meet either prior to the monthly safety meetings or after. So that's my update on it.
So you'll bring back the names, so we.
In the bylaws.
In the bylaws, okay.
No committee or no reports today. Old business part-time employee wages. I think. Did they get the 3 copies?
Yeah, no, that's going to be today, yeah. Where do you want to take it?
Well, we had a meeting and not to the, Steve should probably answer this, he's the one that's been hot on it as well as me, but there's no schedule. And as you can see, thank you, Mayor, for coming up with this. That was actually the mayor's idea. And I heard him approve of it. What it does is set out a scale prorated on the different departments: ground maintenance, custodial, recycling, snowplow equipment operator, maintenance, fair library, assistant librarian, and bartender server. It's I think it's adequate. It gives them a raise yearly, annually, as long as they're employed, and it tops out thereafter. I would recommend this.
Maybe we should have Nathan explain the formula that he came up with that
Sure.
bases all this.
I looked at all the full-time wages and figured out that everybody gets a 25% raise. So between starting and reaching your full pay band is a 25% difference. So what we did was we figured out using some survey data, some job offers, some job announcements. We calculated a base entry average or base salary at an hourly rate, and then added that same 25%, which an employee can attain after 4 years of service. And I guess one of the other drivers of this project was that when we hire part-time rates, oftentimes we're kind of picking and choosing hourly rates seemingly out of thin air. We tried to add a little bit more thought and justification for why we were starting at a certain wage, and then using that same ratio of 25%. If it's good enough for full-time employees, it should be good enough, more than good enough for part-time employees as they serve the city of Beresford.
I want to say thank you for you guys putting this together. It's very helpful. couple thoughts that come to me. Are there any employees that are making more than what they would fall into on this, and how are we going to address that? And then my second question is, are we going to update this annually, as we know minimum wage is gonna continue to increase, and I feel once again we'll run into a situation where we have newbies making more than what some of our.
The second page has all current part-timers and their salaries. Anybody above them would be grandfathered in.
Okay, so they'll stay where they're at if they're above this
Right.
scale that you've already set.
So we
Okay.
just,
And the review will be annual, it won't be every 6 months, it will be annual. It's what we discussed, right?
And so we'll update this annually. If minimum wage increases, we'll update this.
only, we had discussed only if minimum wage increases, otherwise this
We'll stay.
will stay.
Okay.
And the other thing that came up in our discussion was, I believe nobody that we have employed exceeds these wages. But there are some people who obviously fall in between. And everybody is gonna stay right where they're at. And then on the next anniversary, we will move them if there is a step above where their dollar and cent wage is right now. They would move into that next step at that time. We're not gonna retroactively go back and say that this person's worked for us for 4 years, so we're gonna give them a 4-year raise all of a sudden. Everyone is just stays where they are, and after 1 year, they can move into the next level. Was the thought that we had.
So we would only be increasing those that are under minimum wage right now up to that minimum.
Well, I think the last meeting we had, we approved moving everyone up to minimum wage. So everyone's gonna be at minimum wage. But hypothetically, if we had somebody making $9.25 an hour who's ground maintenance, they're in between the step 1 and step 2. They're gonna have to wait. We're not gonna automatically move them up to $9.67. Because everyone just.
How about those that are under minimum wage now? Like I see there's a lot at $8.96 that have been here for 2 years. Do they get bumped up to just minimum wage, or do they get up to the 2 years?
We had talked about just minimum wage is what we had talked about. And again, since we have tons of folks, some have worked here for a year, some have worked here for a dozen plus years, just starting everybody where they're at and not trying to go back and figure out where someone may have been or could have been or should have been.
It just adds a lot of complexity to it.
So then we will rely on payroll on Patty to bring it to council when somebody reaches that 1 year, 2 year, just like any of our full-time people.
Well, if we were to approve this now, we could start the clock right now and make it easy with the
Oh, so
30 people would all have the same.
it wouldn't be their anniversary date, it would be today's date.
I think it'd be today's date.
Correct.
Well, whatever the council wants, but to make it easier for everyone, we just, starting on whatever day, January 23rd or the 22nd. So the 21st of next year, that's when everyone would move up and it would make it a heck of a lot easier.
I think we have to do January 1st, no offense, because we have to go back to January 1st for minimum wage.
Okay.
So,
It'll be easier.
Could we put it back to January 1st so that it kind of coincides with?
I think we have to for minimum wage.
I'm fine with
That
that.
makes sense.
Yeah, those that are under minimum wage, we have to bring them to minimum wage January 1st.
But then
So,
next year, 2020.
yeah, I think with January 1st, we just keep going as the anniversary or the. No, it's simple, I like it.
And as Tom said, I don't know if you heard him, but he concurred, he's kind of echoing the committee's belief that we're all in concurrence with this and want to move forward on it. So we recommend passing.
We can make a motion to adopt part-time wage scales as presented by the committee.
Do we have a second?
Motion made by Svagen and seconded to adopt part-time employee wages. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. New business, we have a couple of drawdown requests. Beresford Community Cover 2019 subsidy drawdown request.
It's $3,000, and they provided documentation, I think, of all of last year's expenses and donations there, so we would recommend approval of that.
Got a motion to approve the Community Cover 2019 subsidy drawdown request.
Kane make a motion to approve the community covered 2019 subsidy drawdown request of $3,000.
Shot second.
Motion made by Kane, seconded by Sean. Any further discussion?
I just got one thing to say. Joanne, thank you for a good balance sheet.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very sometimes always. That's all I wanted to say, because that was a very detailed one, and it was nice to look at.
Sean?
I have another one if anybody wants one.
I do. Please.
All right.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Hey, Joanne.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Next one, Beresford Women's Entrepreneurial Group 2019 subsidy drawdown.
This is a $2,500 request that we have budgeted. And again, you can see what they spent last year. They have a lot of other income other than what we get them. I don't see much other income.
Shall I make a motion here to yours 2000 subsidy drawdown request for $2,500.
Motion made by Schott, seconded to approve the Beresford Women Entrepreneurs 2019 subsidy drawdown request. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Corrections to minutes from December 27th, 2018.
On page 2 of the minutes there, I made a copy of all the minutes from that. Under the year-end transfers, liquor was listed at $19,000, which we had talked about earlier before a bunch of bills came in right before the meeting, and we dropped that to $10,000 at the meeting, so it just needed to be shown in the minutes correctly. So Art talked that, and I appreciate that. So we just need a motion to correct the minutes to reflect the correct amount of the transfer.
Shall I make a motion to correct the minutes from December 27, 2018 to 10,000 as Jerry Simon stated. Thank you very much.
Doing a second.
Motion made by Schott, seconded to approve corrections to the December 27, 2018 minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Declare Trilog voicemail system purchased as surplus with no value.
Was there anything in there on that? It's just a system that he bought back in 1999, and we haven't used it for 8 or 9 years. He wants to just get
Here it
rid of
comes.
it, so.
Moves declare the Trilog voicemail system surplus with no value.
Kane second.
Motion made by Erickson, seconded to declare Trilog voicemail system surplus with no value. Or any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Discussional informational items, cemetery preservation project.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys know where this cemetery is located, but it's north
I
of
have
the post office.
copies if anybody wants.
I think everyone's got a copy.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you working on that too? Donna?
I'm helping that,
Okay, well,
yeah.
you can talk about it then.
Okay, well, what it is a small cemetery just northeast of Burger King right between the new tire place and that area back there. And it's fallen in disrepair. And Donnie Jervik is kind of a cemetery guru, and he's wanting to upgrade and upkeep this cemetery because it is on city property, is what I was told. And he's willing to, clean it up, pull up all the headstones and get them replaced and whatnot, but he needs a little help. And the outside the fence is all crumbling down and whatnot. So he just wants to get it beautified and back to respectable condition.
And for your information, I had a discussion with Brian Clausen about this some time ago, and maybe Jerry has had the same discussion. He said years ago they explored possibly moving the remains, but it's not possible to do that. It would not be feasible to do so. So they're so old, he said it just would be not a good thing.
Plus you have to get permission and all.
Yeah, that
all
too.
relatives.
There's a lot of who goes where, who does what.
Is this something we could get with Kelly and see if he has a captive workforce in the summer?
Well, I think Dottie's willing to, do most of the work himself. He talked to somebody about the grounds and stuff like that, and he'd like to set it so it's able to be kept up a lot easier. And if there was a fence around it, then it would keep, the unwantables in there, out of there, and he would, maintain it, make sure that it's taken care of. So I don't know if he wants to start with the city and get them to, but.
Now, the city owns from the edge of the south edge of the cemetery to the Burger King lot, correct?
The Development Corporation does.
Yeah. So access could be right through there. That's, what did you say, there's not very much room there that nobody wants, right? Do they farm that?
No, we don't. I'm working with someone on that land, so we might be able to get that turned over to them, but he's well aware of the cemetery being there. And there is there is an easement across that property to get to the cemetery. And if he purchases it, he'll probably just put gravel in there for truck park, things like that. So it'll make it easier to access too, which is nice.
Is this, he's also wondering, is this something that he can apply for, a subsidy to get started, or?
I'd go to the community foundation.
Well, I told him that. I told him he should go there, and then he's gonna, put this in the city newsletter thingy that Nancy Ryger does, requests for funds, and he's setting it up at First Savings Bank for the funds to go there. He's hoping that there'll be enough people in the community that, care a little bit about it to get it going, get it off the ground. So he was just wondering.
Joanne, do we know of anybody that has family or relatives here? I heard at one time Wayne Ackman.
Actually, it's the Harvey Larson Cemetery, and Harvey Larson is my husband's uncle. And it goes way back to that, but I didn't know how far, or what, that they were related to us until I found out about this. It's been there, and so it would be, Ray's Aunt Ruth, John's sister, it would be her husband and that family. But other than that, I don't know much more. Somebody with the VFW did some research on all of the graves on here, and I'm waiting for the information on that, but other than that, I don't know the connection totally.
So does Don have a projected thought of estimated cost?
Well, I was telling him that I said you should try something like this. Peters Park project was raised through the city, and they raised, I don't know, roughly $8,000. He goes, "Oh, I don't need $8,000." So I don't think he's looking at, he said he can replace all the stones relatively cheap because that's what he does for a living, and, get it in there reasonable. So.
I think something in the paper too would bring out some information and bring people to enlighten them.
Mm-hmm.
And there'd probably be some donations coming.
Yeah, that's kind of what I told him. I said, just ask for donations,
That's it, turn Donnie loose on the project.
Well, with the council's approval, the backside of the Beresford first newsletter is blank. So we could put this flyer on the backside.
Yeah, that was.
If they're okay with it. And it would go out in all the materials.
Are you in contact with him on this?
Don?
Yeah.
I talk to him every day.
Oh.
Yeah, I called him today and I said, "You gonna go to the city and talk to him about this thing?" Oh, I said, "I guess I will."
Okay.
He didn't know. I mean, I know you probably didn't meet anybody here, but he was wondering if it could get on the backside because of the print. cost. So
I don't see why we can't do that.
you can go black and white more so if you cut out the color. I just printed them in color.
And I think if there was something specific that in the process of doing renovation.
Right now?
No, I'm saying if there was something specific that he needed, or somebody said it would be nice if we had specifically this, it would be nice to know what that is at that time. And maybe there's even some surplus property, if there's some fence, if we have fence posts, I mean, maybe there's something that we could do, essentially donations in kind or something. But I guess until somebody starts, it's kind of hard to say.
Right.
Unless people feel differently, it's kind of hard to estimate something when we have no.
Right. Well, I think he's like, she said that he came and asked if it could be put on the backside of that letter that published with the electric bill and stuff like that. That's a start for him. And he's, gone to the bank to set up an account in case there were donations, because it does state to don't mail them to him or take them to the bank. So until he knows how much money he's working with, what he can do. But in the meantime, in the spring, he'll just go out and start cleaning it up and then rely on, what funds he can get. I know there's a couple of groups in town that are looking for community service. And so I put him in contact with them because he can drag them out there with him and get the work done for no cost. So some of this is going to be all volunteer.
Well, depending on the equipment and things that you need, the two best guys to talk to get in-kind help might be sitting right beside you.
They're going, right.
Well, I think when it comes to that point, depending on what the needs are.
Yeah, it just depends on when he gets into there and gets going. But just,
depending on how big, what they're doing and where they're at.
Yeah. So that's it. It's just a nice little.
Long overdue.
Yeah, it is long overdue. I took somebody's family pictures out by that cemetery, and I didn't even know it was there. They just said, "Come out here. This is kind of cool area." And so I took pictures, and I found that there was a cemetery there. And then somebody kind of informed me that it's been there forever and it's never been taken care of. So it was interesting. Yeah.
Let us know.
Yeah. Thank you.
Next discussion item. Art?
Mr. J. Hankinson Jr. Talked to me. He's a supervisor at Quality Park. He said he was very, very impressed with the girls at City Hall. He had an electronic piece of equipment, and he said he came in, they gave him the application, he went over to the recycle center. The person at the recycle center helped him unload, and he said he was very, very impressed how fast and how quick and how efficient. He just wanted to make sure that I stressed the point that he really appreciates living in Beresford and that we have that here.
Thank you. We have 3 travel requests for approval. We have a motion to approve the travel request.
Who makes motion to approve the travel request?
Motion made by Kane and seconded to approve the travel request. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Do I have a motion to pay the bills?
Here to pay the bills.
One second.
Motion made by Erickson and double seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Calls meeting adjourned.
Let's do